I should have trusted my gut the moment Jason said he wanted to make my wife his executive assistant. At first, I thought it was just business. A little raise, a few more hours. Rachel told me it'd be good for her career, and good for us when we started a family. I didn't argue. She's smart, driven, and she loved her job. But when your boss, who also happens to be the company owner's spoiled son, starts smiling too wide and asking about your wife at home, something inside you stirs, and it doesn't feel right. My name's Mike Harris. I'm a Marine veteran, now working as a senior financial analyst at Mitchell & Company, a private firm with roots going back decades. It's family-run. Richard Mitchell, the old man, was my mentor. He gave me a shot when I was struggling after a combat injury and helped me transition from the military into civilian life. Paid for my MBA too. The man treated me like a son. I met Rachel at the company 5 years ago. She started out doing admin work. Beautiful, smart, sharp tongue. I fell for her fast. We got married a year later. Richard was so happy for us, he paid for our honeymoon to Jamaica. Felt like a fairy tale. Then his son, Jason Mitchell, joined the firm. Jason didn't work his way up. He strolled in straight from college, wearing arrogance like a tailored suit. Rich kid with a fake smile and wandering eyes. I tried to give him a chance. After all, Richard asked me to help mentor him, get him ready for leadership. So I did my best, but even then I saw red flags. Jason didn't respect people. He liked power and the attention it brought, including the attention of women who weren't his. Then one day, Jason came into my office, leaned against my desk like he owned the place, and said, "I'm thinking about offering Rachel the EA role." I froze. My wife, Rachel? Yeah. Gretchen's retiring, and Rachel's got the brains and the look. You cool with that? You ask her yet? Nah. Wanted to talk to you first. She's got the professionalism for the job. But how is she at home? He smiled like he was talking about a car he was thinking of leasing. I told him, as calmly as I could, that we were happily married and that if he thought she was the right person for the job, it was up to her to accept it. But I made one thing clear. If she takes it, I trust her. But I expect you to respect our marriage. Jason gave me that smug grin and said, "Of course, man. I respect you both." That night, I told Rachel what he said. She was quiet at first, then nodded. It'd mean a good raise. And yeah, I know what people say about him. But you trust me, right? I looked her in the eyes. Yeah, I do. But I don't trust him. Rachel took the job. That was the start of everything falling apart. Her hours got longer. 2 business trips a month. Working late 3 nights a week. She told me it was all normal. Just Jason pushing hard to prove himself to the board after his dad's death. I believed her, until she started dressing differently. Tighter skirts, low-cut blouses, more makeup. She never used to dress like that, even for events. She said she was just trying to keep up appearances. But then came the short answers. The lack of affection. The missed dinners. One night I asked if she could scale back. She snapped, "Do you want me to succeed or not?" I didn't want to be that husband, the controlling, insecure one. So I backed off. But I watched. Then one day, Jason said he was throwing a small gathering at his townhouse. Invited us both. Rachel was oddly excited about it. Told me Jason said we could take the following week off, as long as we showed up to his party. Who's going to be there? I asked. Some of his old college friends. A couple clients, maybe. I asked her to be home early that week, and she agreed, except for one work dinner she couldn't skip. Friday came. I dressed casual, grabbed my keys, and waited for Rachel. When she stepped out of our bedroom, I literally had to double-check that it was her. The dress was red, skin-tight, slid up both sides, backless, and definitely not something I'd ever seen in our closet. No bra, no straps, just perfume and skin. "Where'd you get that?" I asked. "In Chicago." Jason suggested I wear it to the party. I laughed nervously. "You're kidding." "Nope. He thinks it makes a statement." "What kind of statement exactly?" She gave me a little smirk. "Relax. Everyone knows their boundaries." I didn't respond, just kissed her on the cheek and grabbed my wallet. When we pulled up to Jason's townhouse, Big place in an upscale neighborhood. I could already smell marijuana in the air. He opened the door and acted like we were celebrities. Introduced us to his friends, all smug, glassy-eyed 20-somethings. One of them raised his drink and said, "This must be Rachel." Jason wasn't kidding. That stung. Jason handed Rachel a glass of wine and gave me a beer. I pretended to sip mine, but didn't really drink. Not that night. Something didn't feel right. Rachel sat on a love seat. Jason parked himself right beside her like it was the most natural thing in the world. They laughed together, whispered, clinked glasses. His hand grazed her leg more than once. I watched it all from across the room, pretending I didn't notice. Then Jason looked at me and said, "Man, you're lucky. I mean, I call her my work wife. But you get the real thing." I forced a smile. But in that moment, something inside me cracked. I stood up to get some air, made an excuse about the bathroom. But what I really did was hit record on my phone and slipped it into my shirt pocket. Because whatever this was, it wasn't just a party. When I came back into the room, Rachel was laughing at something Jason whispered in her ear. His arm was stretched across the back of the love seat, fingers just shy of touching her bare shoulder. One of his buddies was rolling something on the coffee table. The smell confirmed it wasn't a cigar. "Want a hit?" the guy asked me, holding it out. I shook my head. "I'm good. Gotta keep a clear head." Jason chuckled. "Come on, Mike. We're off next week. Loosen up." Rachel took a puff. I stared at her, stunned. She coughed, then laughed. "It's not a big deal." It was to me. I had never once seen her touch anything like that. We'd had long talks about substance use, both agreeing we wanted to stay clear of it. This wasn't some harmless experiment. This was a different person. As I sat back down, I heard Jason bragging. "This guy," he said, pointing at me, "is the best analyst in the company, saved us millions, and brought me the best assistant I've ever had." Rachel smiled. Not a polite smile. Not a "my husband is right there" smile. It was something else. She was beaming at him. Then Jason patted her thigh. "I mean, she's basically my second half at work. I'd be lost without her." I watched his hand slide just a little higher before he pulled it back. My jaw clenched. She didn't flinch, didn't move away, just sat there, sipping wine, smiling. I needed proof. I'd already started the recording, but now I made sure it was angled just right from my shirt pocket. Then one of the other guys pulled out a small bag of white powder. I froze. "Let's step things up," Jason said, grinning. "Don't worry, Mike. You don't have to join in." I watched Rachel lean forward, laugh, and take part. She came up with a trace of white on her nose. That's when I saw it. She wasn't hesitating. She was all in. My drink sat untouched on the side table. But as I stared into it, I noticed something swirling near the bottom. Undissolved powder. They tried to dose me. Suddenly, my vision blurred slightly. I realized I'd taken a small sip earlier. Just one. But it was enough. My limbs felt heavier. My thoughts slowed. I tried to get up, but my knees buckled. Jason stood over me. "Hey man, maybe you should lie down." Rachel was suddenly beside him. "Let's just let him sleep it off." Jason motioned to his friends. They lifted my legs, took off my shoes, laid me out on the couch and covered me with an Afghan. Rachel bent down, kissed my forehead, and whispered, "I'm sorry, Mike. I really do love you." Everything went dark. When I woke up, the house was quiet except for some light snoring from upstairs. The clock on the wall told me I'd been out for over 3 hours. I sat up slowly. My mouth was dry, my head foggy, but my instincts were kicking in again. I turned off the phone camera and slipped quietly upstairs. The door to Jason's bedroom was open, and inside, I saw exactly what I feared. Rachel, my wife, was in bed with Jason, one leg thrown over him. Another guy, one of Jason's friends, was passed out on the other side. I heard someone else snoring from a recliner nearby. I stared, just long enough to burn the image into my mind. Then I turned around, stepped down each stair like I was defusing a bomb, and made my way to the kitchen. I found a plastic container and poured what was left of my drink into it. I wanted that stuff tested. Back in the living room, I grabbed Rachel's purse, took her phone, found an unfamiliar key on her ring and pocketed it. Then I took off my wedding ring and placed it on her purse where she'd be sure to see it. No note, no words, just that. I slipped on my shoes and got out. Didn't turn on the headlights until I was 2 blocks away. That's when I called Tom. Tom Bishop was an old buddy from the Marines. He ran a private investigation firm now. The kind of guy you call when you're out of options. Mike? You all right? Not even close. Can you get to my house in 20 minutes? Say no more. On my way. I bought a 12-pack of beer and a pack of smokes on my way home. I hadn't touched either in years. That night I needed both. Tom arrived just as I cracked open my second beer. I told him everything. Every detail. Showed him the recording. Gave him the drink sample. Handed over the key from Rachel's chain. By the end of it, he just sat there shaking his head. Mike, this isn't just cheating. This is criminal. I know. You want surveillance in your house? Yes. And in Jason's. I don't think he has a system. I've got a key. Tom nodded. Then let's get started. We wired everything. High-def cameras. Audio. Landline taps. Everything uploaded straight to a secure cloud. Then Tom looked at me. You can't stay here. You need to get out of town for a bit. I can't. Not yet. Then don't be alone. I'll keep watch. But promise me, Mike. No cowboy moves. I promise. But deep down, I wasn't sure I could keep that. Because tomorrow, Rachel was going to wake up and realize I was gone. And I wanted to be right here to watch it happen. At 8:34 a.m., Rachel woke up in Jason's bed, stretched out with a satisfied smile, until she looked around. I watched her from the hidden camera feed Tom had set up in my living room. She looked disoriented, then panicked. Jason sat up, groggy, rubbing his eyes. Where's Mike? She asked, already grabbing her robe. Jason shrugged. Still asleep on the couch, probably. She ran downstairs barefoot. Then she saw the empty couch. Afghan tossed aside. Shoes gone. Her purse sitting on the coffee table. And right there on top, my wedding ring. She stood there frozen, staring at it like it might burn through her fingers. Then she bolted back upstairs, nearly tripping on the way. He's gone, she gasped. Jason blinked. What do you mean gone? Gone. His car's gone. His ring's here. And I can't find my phone. That's when Jason's mask dropped. He wasn't just surprised, he was scared. Call him. Now, he snapped. Rachel fumbled for the house phone. I let it ring once before answering. Mike. Honey, are you okay? She asked, trying to sound concerned. I took a drag from my cigarette and answered coldly. What do you want? She paused. I could tell she wasn't ready for the venom in my voice. I woke up and you weren't there. I was worried. I laughed. Worried? That's rich. Mike, please, let's talk. Can you come get me? Wrong answer. What do you mean? If you want to talk, get an Uber. You're not setting foot in my car again. Mike, don't be like this. I didn't mean. You didn't mean to betray me? Drug me? Use my phone as an ashtray? Spare me, Rachel. Okay, I'll come. Can we talk? Just you and me. I didn't say anything for a few seconds. Alone, I finally said. And bring your wallet. Your credit cards don't work anymore. There was silence on the line. Then a quiet, why not? I canceled them last night. She let out a shaky breath. And my phone. Right here. Fascinating little photo album you've got. Jason's quite the poser. Mike, please. Save it. You want to talk? You've got 20 minutes. Come alone. And don't let your boyfriend or his cronies step foot near me. I'm armed, and I won't hesitate. I hung up. From the surveillance feed, I saw her stand there, still holding the phone. Jason came over, demanding answers. He knows. He saw everything. And he has my phone, she whispered. Jason went straight to his study and came back with a syringe. This'll knock him out long enough for us to grab him, he said. Put it in your purse. When you get close, jab him in the arm. We'll be parked a block away. Call me when he's out. Rachel stared at the syringe. What is it? Stuff I cooked up with some help. It won't hurt him. Just knock him out. You're sure? Jason smirked. Trust me. I watched as she tucked the syringe into her purse. She called an Uber and got ready, Jason's boys waiting to follow behind. But what none of them knew, what Rachel especially didn't know, was that Tom's team had been watching from across the street the whole time. As soon as she got in the car, Tom called me. They're on the move. She's got the injection. Jason's tailing her. Don't let your guard down. Got it, I said, locking the front door behind me. I hid my rifle in a place she wouldn't find easily and turned on the audio feed. The moment she stepped inside, Rachel wrinkled her nose. The place smelled like cigarette smoke and burnt paper. She walked toward the fireplace and stopped cold. Her wedding dress was burning. So were all the photos from our marriage. You're burning my stuff? She whispered, stunned. I didn't even look up. I wanted you to see what betrayal looks like. She looked around. You've been drinking and smoking? You never. I quit smoking years ago. And drinking? I stopped because I get mean when I drink. Didn't think it was fair to you. Guess that was a waste of effort. Her voice trembled. What happened to you? No. What happened to you, Rachel? Since when do you use powder? Since when do you sleep with clients? Since when do you laugh about turning your husband into a junkie? I never meant. Shut up, I said. I pulled out my phone and hit play. Her voice filled the room. Her laughing. Jason mocking me. Their friends talking about turning me into some party toy. Joking about tying me up. About replacing me. Rachel's face went white. How did you get this? Does it matter? She reached for her purse. I was already there. Snatched it away. Dumped it onto the table. The syringe rolled out. I picked it up with a tissue. This your idea or Jason's? She didn't answer. You were going to inject me with this? You don't even know what it is. What were you going to do next? Wait for Jason to show up and toss me in a trunk. She looked at the floor. Pretty much. I stared at her, then nodded slowly. All right, you're going to call him. You're going to put it on speaker. And you're going to lie. What do I say? Tell him I'm out cold. Tell him it worked. Tell him to come get me. She hesitated, then picked up the phone and dialed. Jason? It's me. Yeah, it's done. He's out. Good girl, Jason said. We'll be there in 5. She hung up and looked at me. They're coming. I sat back in my recliner. Then let's give them a proper welcome. I sat motionless in the recliner, eyes half closed, pretending to be knocked out. The audio and video were already rolling. Every word, every footstep, every betrayal, recorded. Out the front window, I saw Jason's car slow down and park just down the block. He and his 3 goons climbed out like they were heading to a barbecue, not a felony. Jason adjusted his jacket and strolled toward my door. Rachel stood near the hallway, hands shaking, mascara smudged from earlier tears. She looked like she was realizing, finally, that this wasn't going to end how she thought. Jason opened the door without knocking. I stayed still. He scanned the living room, spotted me slouched on the recliner. Perfect, he muttered. Nice work, Ratch. He stepped in, glanced at the mess on the coffee table, then chuckled. He burned your dress? Rachel nodded, eyes on me. Yeah. Jason approached me, leaned over to grab my arm. In one fluid motion, I opened my eyes, grabbed his wrist, and slammed my other elbow into his throat. He stumbled back, coughing, choking, falling to his knees. What the? I kicked him in the chest so hard he flew back into the coffee table, scattering glass and debris. One of his guys charged. I sidestepped, grabbed a lamp, and cracked it over his head. Right then, Tom's crew burst through the back door. 2 more of Jason's friends were tackled and pinned to the ground before they knew what hit them. Jason was on the floor, clutching his neck, trying to breathe. I stepped over him, pulled my hunting knife from behind the cushion, and yanked his head back by the hair. You think you can drug me, humiliate me, destroy my life, and just walk in here like this is your world? Jason's eyes were wide, terrified. I pressed the blade to his throat. Make peace with whatever you believe in. Mike. Tom's voice rang out. Don't do it. He deserves it. I growled. You saw that footage. You heard what they planned. I did, Tom said, stepping into view. But if you do this, you'll go down with him. You've worked too hard for that. He's going to prison. Let him rot there. Jason whimpered. I could see it in his eyes. He thought I was really going to do it. And for a second, I wanted to. But I looked at Tom, and I let go. The knife clattered to the floor. Tom zip-tied Jason's hands while another guy secured the other three. Rachel was backed into a corner, sobbing, hands over her mouth. Tom turned to her. Lay down. Face on the floor. She didn't move. He took a step forward. Now. She obeyed, hot tears falling as he zip-tied her wrists behind her back. Outside, sirens grew louder. 2 police cruisers pulled up. Officers stormed the house, weapons drawn, until they saw the scene was under control. One officer picked up the syringe from the plastic bag on the coffee table. This what they planned to use on you? Yeah, I said. It's what she brought. Rachel sobbed louder. They read everyone their rights and led them out one by one. Jason didn't say a word as they dragged him past me. His expression empty. Rachel didn't look at me at all. Once the house was quiet, Tom sat beside me on the couch. You all right? Not really, but I didn't do it. That has to count for something. He nodded. It does. Want a beer? I glanced at the fridge. Yeah, maybe just one. Later that night, I sat at the table, staring at the pile of Rachel's things. Her photos, her shoes, her leftover jewelry. I opened her phone again, started copying everything. Texts, pictures, videos. Some were months old. Some were from just days ago. I saw her with Jason in hotel rooms. I saw her with strangers, clients. Men she told me were just business. Some of the videos made my stomach turn. The smile she wore, that wasn't someone being forced. That was someone enjoying it. There was no blackmail here. Not anymore. I emailed it all to myself. Backed it up on a hard drive. Then I wrote a message to the board of directors at Mitchell & Company, attaching a video of Jason and Rachel from the night of the party. I explained everything in professional detail, focusing on the morals clause in their contracts, the scandal this could cause, and what I hoped they would do about it. Before heading to bed, I placed Rachel's wedding dress, what was left of it, into the fireplace and struck a match. I sat and watched it burn, not because I needed closure, but because she needed to know that the life we built together, everything she betrayed, was never going to be hers again. The next morning, I drove straight to Daniel Moore, Mitchell & Company's interim CEO. By the time I arrived, he'd already seen my email. He didn't even wait for me to sit down. Mike, he said, voice tight. We watched the video. The entire board has. I don't know what to say, other than we're deeply sorry. Not your fault, I said. But it's time to clean house. He nodded. Agreed. Jason and Rachel are both terminated, effective immediately. Legal's reviewing it now, but they're done. I handed him the hard drive with the backup files. There's more on there. Messages, photos, full context. Thank you. You doing okay? I thought for a moment. I will be. Daniel leaned back. You've always been the calm in the storm around here. We need that now more than ever. He paused, then added, we also want you to take over Jason's position, permanently. That caught me off guard. Me? Yes, you're respected, trusted. You've already been running the numbers behind the scenes. This just makes it official. I nodded slowly. All right. There's one more thing, he said. Take some time. Get out of town. Clear your head. I already had a destination in mind. That night, I packed a duffel and hit the road. Tom had set me up with a place in Vegas, courtesy of Sergeant Davis, another one of our old unit guys. When I arrived, I was met by a woman named Candy. Dark hair, warm smile, early 20s. She looked like someone trying hard to move forward with her life. Hi, she said, extending a hand. Gunny told me you were coming. Said you've been through a lot. You could say that, I muttered. She walked me through the apartment, showed me the essentials, offered to grab food or drinks. I'm just here to keep you company, if you want it. You don't have to talk or do anything. Just decompress. I nodded. I appreciate it. We spent the next few nights going to low-key places. Nothing wild, just music, conversation, and space to breathe. Candy wasn't pushy, and I didn't ask questions about her past. I didn't want to ruin the quiet. Back home, Tom updated me regularly. The police had raided Jason's townhouse. They found substances, illicit tapes, client information, even more videos, ones that involved people high up in the business world. Jason's not just going down, Tom said. He's dragging half the gutter with him. Meanwhile, Rachel and Jason sat in holding, awaiting formal charges. Their attorneys tried reaching out to me, some kind of hush agreement. I ignored them. On my fourth night in Vegas, Candy knocked on my door just after midnight. She was in casual clothes, hair pulled back. "You awake?" she asked. "Yeah." She walked in, sat beside me. "You know, you're nothing like the men I used to know. You're calm, steady. Even now." "I don't feel calm," she smiled. "Maybe not inside, but it shows." She rested her head on my shoulder. "Do you mind if I stay?" I didn't. The next morning, she was gone. Left a note on the counter. "I've got class, but last night meant something to me. Thank you." I didn't know what that meant for the future, but I wasn't thinking that far ahead. I just knew I didn't feel angry. Not for the first time in weeks. When I finally drove back home, the place felt less like a battlefield. I went through Rachel's closet, boxed up her remaining things, took down what was left of our wedding pictures. I didn't cry. I didn't yell. I just felt done. A few days later, Tom called again. "The trials are starting. You ready?" "I was born ready," I said. He chuckled. "That's the Marine I know." I suited up and walked into that courtroom with every ounce of calm I could muster. Rachel wouldn't look at me. Jason sat beside her, his usual smugness gone, replaced by a tight-lipped stare. The jury watched as the evidence played. Audio of them laughing over my unconscious body. Videos of their planning. Documents showing Jason had used Rachel to manipulate clients. Rachel finally took the stand. She tried to play the victim, claimed Jason blackmailed her, said it started in Chicago, that he tricked her, drugged her, threatened to expose her. I watched the jury carefully. Some believed her, others didn't. But it didn't matter, because the truth was, no one forced her to laugh, or whisper in my ear after she drugged me, or record those videos for fun. The jury came back with their verdicts later that week. All five, Jason, Rachel, and the three goons, guilty on every charge. They were let out in cuffs, and just like that, it was over. Almost. A few days after the verdict, I got a call from Tom. "You're going to want to sit down for this." Hit me. "Jason's dead. Found in the prison showers this morning. Someone got to him. Neck injury. Decapitation." I didn't say anything. Tom added, "I figured you'd want to know before you read it online. Thanks." And that was it. Jason Mitchell, corporate heir, backstabber, manipulator, was gone. Just like that. The news didn't shake me. If anything, it felt like balance had been restored. Karma with a sharpened edge. I turned back to work. I had a company to help rebuild. My new title at Mitchell & Company came with a corner office, a bigger paycheck, and more responsibility than ever. The board didn't hesitate. They handed over the reins and trusted me to clean up the mess. And it was a mess. Jason had been sloppy. The auditors I supervised uncovered padded expense reports, fake client meetings, hidden travel reimbursements. He'd used company funds to fly himself and Rachel to weekend getaways that weren't on any calendar. There were hotels, charges for business dinners that were anything but business. But here's the kicker. Some of those clients Rachel had entertained, they were connected to a major contract. And now we were facing the possibility of federal investigations. Daniel Moore, the interim CEO, brought me into his office after the auditors laid it all out. "I need you to spearhead the cleanup." Quietly. "I'm on it." I spent weeks doing damage control, meeting with clients, rebuilding trust. We managed to avoid any lawsuits, but it wasn't easy. Through it all, I kept my personal life locked down. Rachel sat in prison waiting for sentencing. I'd already filed for divorce. My lawyer, Karen Steele, sharp, no-nonsense, anti-betrayal, handled everything. We had no kids. The house was mine before the marriage. Rachel was entitled to half our joint savings, but since she was being sentenced for multiple felonies, that part got tricky. Karen told me the judge might waive support altogether. "She's not getting a dime unless she gets out," she said. "And even then, it won't be much." 6 months after the trial, I walked into the courtroom one last time. Rachel stood before the judge, shackled and sunken. Her hair was dull. Her voice, quiet. No makeup. No expensive heels. Just an orange jumpsuit and a plea for leniency. The judge didn't blink. 25 years to life. She crumpled. The 3 goons got 20 years each. Jason, well, he got his sentence early in the worst way possible. I stood outside the courthouse, breathing clean air, feeling something I hadn't in a long time, peace. Then came the unexpected knock at my office door. Linda, my assistant, buzzed in. "Mr. Harris, there's a Lauren Mitchell here to see you." "Mitchell?" "She says she's related to Richard Mitchell. Wants 5 minutes. Send her in." The door opened, and in walked a woman I'd never met, but somehow felt like I should have known. Tall, blonde, business attire with a calm confidence. She looked like someone who had seen a lot and wasn't easily rattled. "Mr. Harris," she said, extending her hand. "It's good to finally meet you. Mike. Please, call me Mike." She smiled. "Lauren. I'm Richard's niece. Jason's cousin." "Ah, surprised we haven't crossed paths before. I was living in France. I came back recently. I missed the funeral and everything else that came after. Sorry for the loss." She nodded. "He wasn't perfect, but he was good to me." I gestured to the chair. "So, what brings you here?" She looked me dead in the eye. "I just wanted to thank you." "For what?" "For taking down my cousin." I blinked. She continued, "Jason was a monster. When I was 18, he tried something. I never said anything. I was too scared. But I stayed away from the family after that. And when I saw what happened with you, I felt justified. I didn't know what to say." She stood up, handed me her card. "If you ever want to grab coffee or dinner, I'd like that." Then she turned and left. I sat there for a long while staring at that card. It wasn't love. Not yet. But it didn't feel like betrayal either. Felt like something new. Something real. And after everything I'd been through, that was enough to make me believe maybe, just maybe, this chapter of my life wasn't going to end in ashes. Lauren and I met for dinner the next night. Nothing fancy, just 2 people with shared scars, sitting across from each other, swapping stories over pasta and a couple glasses of wine. She wasn't like Rachel, where Rachel had been all surface. Smiles, appearances, practiced charm. Lauren was the opposite. Thoughtful, quiet, direct. I told her what happened with Rachel and Jason, all of it. She listened without interrupting, just absorbing every word. When I finished, she reached across the table, touched my hand, and said, "You didn't deserve any of that." Then she told me her side. "I was young when it happened. Jason cornered me one night after a family dinner. He didn't get far. Someone came around the corner and he stopped, but the message was clear. I left for college the next month and never looked back. I didn't even come home for holidays. My parents thought I was being rebellious. I just couldn't face the family pretending he was this golden boy." "You ever tell Richard?" I asked. "No. I didn't want to break his heart. He loved Jason too much to believe me. Or maybe I didn't want to know whether he'd believe me." We stayed at that restaurant for hours. It wasn't romantic, yet it was something deeper, honest, unfiltered. We were both healing. Over the next few months, we saw more of each other. Sometimes lunch, sometimes walks, sometimes just sitting together not saying much at all. I wasn't rushing into anything, but I also wasn't holding back out of fear anymore. One night, she kissed me. I didn't expect it. But I didn't hesitate either. And that's how we started. Meanwhile, work was stabilizing. The audit revealed even more dirt on Jason, phony reimbursements, manipulated quarterly reports, and a few shady contracts he tried to slide past the board. I spent weeks cleaning up the mess, but thankfully no major clients pulled out. Mitchell and company survived, mostly because the rest of the leadership stood behind the truth. Behind me. Then one day, Candy, the woman I'd met in Vegas, emailed me. "Hey Mike, I just wanted to thank you for being kind. I met someone here at school, and things are getting serious. I think he might be the one. Thought you should know." I smiled when I read it. She deserved peace too. By the time the anniversary of Rachel's arrest rolled around, the divorce was finalized. I was officially free. The morning I signed the final paperwork, I walked into my office and found a note on my desk from Lauren. "You know, if you ever ask me to marry you, I'll probably say yes. No big speech. No drama. Just that." I waited 3 days. I wanted to be sure. Then I invited her over to my house. The same house Rachel had tried to poison. The same house I'd nearly burned to the ground emotionally. But this time it was quiet, warm, real. I got down on one knee and held out the ring. Lauren smiled so wide it nearly broke me. She didn't say yes. She said, "It's about time." Then she tackled me to the floor. We laughed. We cried. And that night I held someone who didn't lie, didn't cheat, didn't pretend, just loved. A few months later, we got married in a small ceremony. No big crowd. Just friends, people who mattered, and Tom, standing off to the side in a dress shirt and jeans, smirking like he knew the whole time where this was going. "I told you," he said afterward. "Life doesn't end in betrayal. Sometimes it just takes that much hurt to find what's real." I didn't argue, because for the first time in a long time, I finally agreed. The honeymoon was quiet, just the way we wanted it. No big resort. No Instagram-worthy beaches. Just a tucked-away cabin by a lake up north, with no reception, no reminders of the past, and no one calling my name for damage control. For once, I didn't feel like I had to check every shadow or second-guess every conversation. With Lauren, everything felt still, like the chaos had finally backed off and given me room to breathe. When we got back, life settled into something that felt dangerously close to normal. Lauren taught economics at a local university. I dove back into the work of making Mitchell and company respectable again. Then the sentencing hearings hit the news. The 3 guys Jason brought to that party, the ones who helped drag me onto that couch and joked about turning me into a puppet, each got 20 years. No parole before 15. Apparently, the judge didn't take kindly to jokes about kidnapping and forced humiliation, especially not when they were caught on camera with a syringe in hand. Rachel sat at the defense table, pale and silent, wearing prison orange instead of her designer suits. She didn't speak until the judge asked if she had anything to say before sentencing. "I was manipulated," she said. "I made mistakes, but I still loved my husband." Even in that courtroom, in front of the cameras, she was still trying to twist the story, still pretending to be the victim. The judge didn't buy it. 25 years to life, he said. And not because you were manipulated, but because you participated. You chose to go along. And you enjoyed it. I didn't smile. I didn't gloat. I just watched her be led away. One life gone. Another beginning. Afterward, I walked outside and called Tom. "She's done," I said. "You okay?" "Yeah. Just a little surprised how much peace there is when you stop waiting for justice and actually see it happen." He laughed. "You want peace? Wait till you see what we found at Jason's townhouse." My guy dug up one of those hidden backup drives. What's on it? More footage. More files. Names of every client Jason entertained, half of whom had no idea they were being blackmailed with what he filmed. And the other half? Willing participants. High-end executives. Politicians. Judges. Are we in trouble? No. We were smart. You reported what you needed to. You stayed out of it. If anything, we're in a position of strength now. A week later, Lauren and I sat down for dinner with Daniel Moore and 2 members of the board. "We want to give you more responsibility," Daniel said. A formal seat on the board. Not just as a figurehead, but as someone who can make sure this never happens again. I didn't need time to think. I accepted. But before the meeting ended, one of the board members leaned in. Out of curiosity, how did you stay so calm through all of it? The betrayal? The drugs? The setup? I thought for a second. I didn't stay calm, I said. I just stayed focused. Rage makes you sloppy. Focus makes you dangerous. They all nodded. Even Lauren smirked at that. After dinner, we went home, poured 2 glasses of wine, and sat out on the back porch. You ever think about it? She asked. If Rachel hadn't done what she did? Sometimes, but not in the way you'd expect. I don't think about what I lost. I think about what I dodged. She nodded slowly. Funny how betrayal ends up being the thing that saves you. And in that moment, I realized something I hadn't put into words before. Sometimes the worst day of your life isn't the day everything falls apart. It's the day you find out what was fake. And the best day? It's the day you finally stop living in that lie. We clinked glasses, took a sip, said nothing, because sometimes silence is the most honest thing in the world. A year later, I received a letter in the mail, official-looking, state seal on the envelope. I opened it cautiously. It was a notification from the parole board. Rachel had filed an appeal, claiming rehabilitation, mental coercion, and a desire to reintegrate into society. I stared at it for a moment, then set it down and poured myself a cup of coffee. Lauren walked in, still in her robe, sipping tea. What's that? Rachel's trying to get out early. She raised an eyebrow. Seriously? I nodded. Yeah. Says she wants to tell her side. Lauren sat beside me, glanced at the letter. You going to fight it? I shook my head. No need. She's not getting out. That judge made sure of it. But if they ask for a victim statement, I'll give one. 2 weeks later, I stood in front of a parole board and read a letter that took me a long time to write. I'm not here because I want revenge, I said. I'm not here because I'm angry. I'm here because I lived through what she did. I saw the planning, the cruelty, the indifference. I saw the look on her face when she thought I'd never wake up. I'm not trying to keep her in prison. I'm trying to make sure she doesn't walk out pretending she's something she's not. They denied her appeal. Unanimously. Rachel was stunned, according to Tom, who still had contacts at the prison. She hadn't expected me to show up. Thought I'd moved on. And I had. But moving on doesn't mean forgetting. It means remembering and refusing to let it define you. Back at the office, things were better than ever. Our numbers were up. We'd cleaned house, improved policies, and brought in a younger, smarter, less entitled leadership team. Lauren stopped by for lunch some days. She became sort of a legend around the office. Not because of her family name, but because people could see how solid she was. How honest. It rubbed off on me. One afternoon, as I was wrapping up some reports, Linda, my assistant, buzzed in. There's a reporter downstairs asking questions about Jason. Old case. Wants your comment. I stared at the intercom button, then clicked it. Tell them no comment. That chapter is closed. She replied, got it, and hung up. I leaned back, stared at the ceiling. Jason was gone. Rachel was locked away. The others were forgotten names in a system that chews up people like them. I didn't need headlines. I had peace. Later that evening, Lauren and I walked through the park near our house. It had become our little ritual after dinner. Leave our phones at home, walk until the streetlights came on, and talk about everything but work. She looked at me out of nowhere and said, You know what I admire most about you? I smiled. My cooking. She laughed. No. It's that you never let bitterness take over. You could have become like them. Cold. Cruel. But you didn't. I shrugged. I came close. But you didn't cross that line. I stopped walking and looked at her. That's because I had one good thing left. And I wasn't about to let them take that too. We kept walking, hand in hand, streetlights glowing above us. And I realized something. The story people tell themselves is that once trust is broken, everything falls apart. But the truth? Sometimes you have to lose everything fake to find something real. And if you're lucky, what comes after isn't just better. It's everything you never knew you needed.